It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My first guest this week is Pamela Adlon. Pamela actually started acting in her early teens with a very juicy role in the musical Grease 2. She played one of the Pink Ladies, Dolores. But she really established her career as a voice actor. Over the last few decades, Pamela has had roles on Rugrats, Bobby's World, and my personal favorite, King of the Hill. She played Bobby Hill.
Looking for a plant?
Which one of these sticks is gonna turn into roses?
That one? Maybe. I don't know. I just got transferred from fabrics.
It says roses.
Yeah, I told you. Okay. The tag says they need food and water and sun and dirt and love.
Can I substitute extra love for sun? I kinda have to hide these in my bedroom closet.
In the last few years, Pamela has been appearing in front of the camera more. She was one of the stars of Californication, and she was a regular on Louie. These days, she has her own show. It's called Better Things. She co-created and stars in it. Pamela plays Sam, a single mom and a working actor living in L.A. She isn't, starving, but neither is she super famous. She dates, but that isn't the center of the show or her life. It's an honest, funny show, and it talks about parenting in a very real way. Here's a little bit from Better Things' second season. In this scene, Sam is on a date with a man she's been seeing for a few weeks. This is a guy she's slept with but doesn't particularly enjoy spending time with. He senses Sam's disinterest, and he confronts her about it, telling her, "All I ask for is basic consideration." Sam lets him know she thinks he's a needy guy who requires too much attention, and he calls her mean. And this is where the confrontation goes from there.
Why does everybody have to be so careful all the time with a man's feelings? Ooh, don't hurt the man. His feelings are so important. You guys are supposed to be tough. You're such The second a woman is a tiny bit mean to a man, or even just a tiny bit honest, she's a
Pamela Adlon, welcome to Bullseye. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Your father was a TV writer and producer.
Yes.
But I get the impression that maybe when you were a kid, he had mixed success.
Yeah, he was, he had his finger in a whole bunch of things, because he started out just being a writer. He went to BU School of Communications, and then he was trying to get by, and he was writing, dime store novels and little softcore porn, as I've talked about, comic books.
Have you ever read any of your father's softcore porn?
Yeah. Yes. I've read Super Doll.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Yes. And
well, it's probably his best known work.
Yeah, I mean, you guys. And he wrote under pseudonyms because there was kind of we don't like Jews kind of mentality in the world, which is so weird because nobody has that now. Anyway, so then he started writing and producing for television, and he was always struggling. I just remember seeing my dad, in whatever kind of makeshift office situation he would have with the football game on and trying to write. And towards the end of his life, he had a partner, Phil Margo, who was one of the original Tokens, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and they were writing partners. And so I know that when he turned 50, it was a difficult time for him because there was a lot of ageism. But, yeah, he struggled. He really did.
How old were you when that happened?
When
things sort of went dry for your dad?
Yeah. I was probably a teenager. Yeah, I think so, because I was in my 20s when he passed away, and he was 60.
Were you already working then? I mean, as an actress?
Yes. I started working when I was quite young, probably around 12.
Why?
I wanted to. I really wanted to. I didn't want to go to school, and we had...
It's amazing to think that, I didn't want to go to school either.
I know. Maybe I could just act or be an electrician.
I just figured it was that or the garment factory.
I know. It actually... We came to California to visit and I met a kid actor, and I saw like her composite like headshots and everything, and that she talked to me about having an agent. I was like, I want that. That's so interesting, you know? And I'd grown up on sound stages and on my dad's shows, so I had the bug.
Is a composite headshot the one where in one you're wearing a fireman hat and
Yeah,
another
throwing a
one
frisbee, hand on your face, goofy hat. Yeah, totally.
and you're like, I've lived all of this.
Yes.
From
Throwing a
goofy hat to
football.
hand on face.
Totally. Yes. I got to find that. It's got to be. I have to locate that.
How did you get into it? I mean, having a father who knew how show business worked, I mean, that's an important first step in kind of being physically here.
You know, I called up the woman who was on that girl's headshot.
You called?
Yeah.
Is this before or after you told your parents that this was your desire?
Before. I called her. Her name was Beverly Hecht, and I opened up the phone book, and I called, and I made an appointment, and I sat my parents down, and I said, I made an appointment with an agent, and I would like to go, and they were supportive. They were like, okay, it's not all, you know, rainbows and unicorns, and so they were down, and my mom, you know, schlepped me around and took me to stuff.
So what, did you have to audition in the office?
Yes, she had me read a Tide commercial. And it was like one of those, like, this kid's a star. You know, like she like put her feet up on the desk and said, I want to sign her. And
Was she smoking?
I feel like she was.
Probably.
I feel, yeah, maybe.
I'm picturing a giant cigar, by
Me
the way.
too.
Like an absurdly large cigar.
Me too.
And going like,
Yeah. The kid's a star.
calling a secretary in.
Exactly.
Margie, come in here. Look at this kid. Read the Tide commercial again. Let's go. Come on, Pammy.
What kind of work did you get at first?
I did a Kool-Aid commercial where I was the sepia-toned version of the star, like who was like, when I was a little girl, and it would go brrr, brrr, and I had like the long braids, and you know, and then I did a commercial for Mexican pudding that wasn't approved by the FDA, and I wore the dress that I wore to my brother's bar mitzvah.
Wait, does pudding require FDA approval?
I think so.
Was this a drug delivery system of some kind?
No, but it's food and drug, and yeah, wasn't approved. So we did it in Spanish. Qué sabroso, muy cremoso, es un postre especial. I did a commercial for a pimento spread. Jesse, this is so good. This is like therapy. You're taking me back.
I mean, it is a very odd thing to be doing as a teenager, even as an Angelino. Like even, I think even in Los Angeles, where there are show business people around,
Yeah.
it's still kind of like a crazy thing to be like, oh yeah, on Friday I'm not going to be in school.
Yeah, that was the goal. The goal was no school. The goal was no school because it was like when I got, into high school, I went to Beverly Hills High School for ninth grade, and it was brutal for me.
In what way?
I couldn't find my place, and this was Beverly Hills in the 80s, in the early 80s. That was like, it was hard in these streets. Like, it was just like girls looking at me, and I was wearing my brother's hand-me-downs. Like, I wasn't a sparkly, Beverly Hills piece of candy. And so the goal was
maybe also, I mean, this is probably a little different for guys and girls, but like you're also really small.
Yeah.
And you must have been particularly small when you were 14.
Well, I was, I didn't feel small as much as I felt like I wasn't like, like the other girls, and so I remember like sneers and like nice shirt. Like I would wear cut T-shirts and like my brother's hand-me-downs and things like that. But then
was it like everybody was wearing like
Lacoste?
That's what I was about to say. Lacoste polo
serious?
shirts. I was sincerely about to say
I've never
that.
owned one in my life, and one of my
I'm
best.
picturing like white jeans a lot too.
Yeah, it just wasn't happening for me. But and then I got my first movie, which was Grease 2, and so I was out of school for quite a long time, and then I got into a car accident right at the end of filming, and so I was like bedridden for a couple of months, and so like at the end of Grease 2, everybody's like jumping off this mattress in front of Rydell, and it's supposed to be me and Leaf Green, but I'm not there because I went through a windshield when I was being driven to set one day. So anyway,
I do have a clip from Grease 2.
You do? Oh my God.
Yeah, Grease 2, of course, is the beloved sequel to Grease.
Yes.
So this is like...
Me and Maxwell. It has to be the skateboard.
Yes.
Knew it.
That's exactly what it is. This is them leaving the bowling alley where a big bowling song just happened.
Okay.
Grease 2's famous bowling anthem.
Oh, yeah.
Let's Bowl,
Score
I think
tonight.
it's called.
Score tonight.
Score tonight, yeah.
I offer to be a pink lady mascot. It ain't the coolest job, but it's a start. Think they'd listen? Forget it. Pisses me off.
Well, it's pretty late. I think I better walk you home.
Oh, I don't need a babysitter. Okay.
Well, why don't you think of it as a date? Okay.
Well, why didn't you say so in the first place? Come on. You know, when I'm in the 12th grade, I know I'm going to be the head of the pink ladies. My pink ladies will rule the school. They'll be the best. We'll have the best-looking jackets. I once tried to put letters on this jacket, you know. Didn't work. It fell right off. It was really embarrassing because it happened in front of my sister, Paulette. I didn't mean for it to happen.
Oh my God, my voice. Oh my God. After he says, well, why don't you think of it as a date, okay? And I say, why didn't you say so in the first place? All the rest of it was me ad-libbing. Pat Birch was like, just keep talking. And I was like, okay. But, wow. So funny to hear little Pamela's voice.
I mean, you must be very familiar with your voice since you have been a voiceover actor for so long. I think a lot of people, when they first hear their voice, it's really distressing because you usually hear it inside of your head.
Yeah.
And it resonates inside your head and sounds really nice. And then when you hear your actual voice, it's really upsetting. Like maybe 6 months I've been comfortable listening to my own voice. I've been doing this since I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, it must be really something to hear your voice as what were you, maybe 15 or 16?
Yeah, I was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so cute. I mean, I guess my balls dropped. Like, this is so crazy to hear that.
Were you always a little tough kid in these things?
Yes, I was, I was the kid.
Like a scrappy kid sister?
Yeah, I was the scrappy. I was like, I robbed Edna's edibles on The Facts of Life, and I sold crack on the Bronx Zoo, and Ed Asner called me into the principal's office, and, I robbed the dry cleaners on the Jeffersons, and in an arc on a show called Wise Guy with, it was like this rock and roll arc with Tim Curry and Debbie Harry and Patty D'Arbanville and Paul Winfield and Glenn Fry. Paul McCrane.
What an odd list of
I
people.
know. Unbelievable.
All of those are remarkable people. They do not match. Yeah.
Formative as F. But, I mean, this is like, I guess looking back at all of those things, it's kind of hilarious.
It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My guest, Pamela Adlon, created and stars in the FX show Better Things. One of the things that happened is that when you had a hard time transitioning from being a teenage kid sister in 1,000 Things to being an adult actress.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've really talked about that. It's true. It's there were some dry years, and I just could not find my footing. I couldn't find my face and like a way to appear as a person and stuff. And I was never kind of a girl enough, a lady enough, pretty enough. I just did not fit in anything. And once in a while, somebody would be like, I want Pam, like, I want her. This is the way we want to go. And there would be dissenting voices going, we don't want that. And they would go in, a safer direction, because, I was always like spikier. And like, I remember doing this one Disney TV movie because I know you'll love this because now I know your taste. It was a Disney movie with John Denver and Cindy Williams, and it was called The Leftovers, and they took a bunch of orphans in. And I remember the woman who wrote the movie said to me, and I was a teenager, and she said, I was so happy to hear that you were playing Jessie because you have such a damaged quality to you. And I was like, awesome. So happy I could help. It was hilarious. I'll never forget that. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you.
I have to say that Bobby Hill, who you played for, I think like a dozen years, 12, 13 years, on King of the Hill, the Fox show, is one of my favorite TV characters of all time.
Wow.
Like sincerely top 10, maybe higher. I think that's true for a lot of comedy people, especially my age. Like it is something in which you recognize your own childhood through his sad desperation and core sweetness.
Yes,
but terrifying desperation. It's such an indelible character, I think, because there are not a lot of boys on TV who are sad and have feelings. Mm-hmm. And also, I think not a lot of boys that like people who want to become performers relate to. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if there were parts of that character that you realized you related to, as having been a child performer yourself, having been such a performer that you like were making phone calls by yourself at age 12 to agents.
Yes. I remember, in the first place, that show really helped form me as a writer professionally, because I was so impressed by the writing all the time. So it doesn't surprise me that it was emotional for you or made you have feelings, because it was a very touching show, and the show had real moments, and it had a lot of life and air in it. It wasn't a boom, 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 satisfying comedy beats buttons type of thing. And so I remember, we did it for 13 seasons, and I remember being very, you become the Bible of your character. And so there was one year where I said to, Greg Daniels, can Bobby not say fruit pie like this whole season? Can we just not say fruit pie or...
It's a big ask.
Yeah. Or carrot top, or, prop comic, because I didn't want it to become too jokey. I wanted to keep him multidimensional and layered. And I loved how... it was always very odd to me because some people would say, well, Bobby Hill is gay. And I'm like, why are you saying that? Bobby is just an all-around person, and he's too young to proclaim anything. And so a significant one to me was when he was choosing to be the Dalai Lama, like when they were asking him. And it's like, and then Bobby was like, he was getting all the girls, and then he was just being a very sad boy, and he was a disappointment to his dad, and then his dad was proud of him. This is the way life is. And those guys just created a beautiful way to show a modern young boy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, to the extent that people perceived him as gay, it's just about the fact that it is so weird to see a young boy have feelings other than complicated, more than I'm sad my dog died.
Right.
I know. I want to be clear. I was very sad when my dog died.
I'm sorry.
But more sort of real complex figuring it out feelings. That's not something like 11-year-old boys are usually like punching people and
That's
going,
right.
ah!
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Why can't a boy be navel gazing and existential and all of that kind of thing? Absolutely. Yeah.
I've often dreamed of having you on this program specifically so that I could play this clip from a season 6 episode of King of the Hill where Bobby Hill is getting bullied at school. So he signs up for a self-defense class that turns out to be an adult women's self-defense class.
Yes.
And so, like, what you are about to hear is the demo from the class, which is where, you know, it's the thing where, like, somebody is pretending to be a mugger and Bobby is being mugged and he's trying to say his line that they've given him that you're supposed to yell while you're defending yourself.
Shut up and give me your purse.
I don't know you. That's my purse. Okay. I want everybody to try it. You first. See, I don't hate men.
Give me your purse. Now.
That's my purse.
Don't be afraid to shout it. That's my purse. Try it again.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
Oh my God. Do you know how many people have that tattooed on their bodies?
How many
Jesse?
awesome people?
There's like a whole Bobby Hill, I don't know you, that's my purse. That's hilarious. Oh my God. So that was Ashley Gardner and Toby Huss in that clip. Amazing.
I mean, what's so beautiful about this character, and I think the reason that you know, I mean, obviously there's the absurdity of this little boy in a women's self-defense class, and that's really funny, and that's
Yes.
great, right? But, like, a big part of what makes Bobby Hill work as a character and what makes him so compelling, at least for me, is that this is a kid who is in a place where difference is not necessarily celebrated. You know, his family loves him, but, like, he's different, you know? Mm-hmm. And he's not different in, like, a crazy way. He's just regular different. Mm-hmm. And it is, you know, the shows that are about him, which are a lot of the episodes of the show, he's at the emotional core, are about, like, a kid basically just accepting being themselves. And that's like, weirdly, that's what that scene is, right? It's like him learning to assert himself in the world, and it's such a lovely emotional thing to have in a family cartoon.
Yes. It's so funny though. I mean, God.
It is really funny.
Oh God.
I don't know you.
Let me play a scene from the first season of Better Things, which is my guest Pamela Adlon's show that just finished its second season and is headed into its third. In this scene, who Sam is a single mom, and she's been fighting with a Mormon mom whose name is Trinity, whose daughter goes to her kid's school, and Sam and her kids had gone to a service at Trinity's church. And in this scene, Sam and Trinity are sitting on a bench in the playground, and Trinity kind of peevishly accuses Sam of having preconceived notions about what Mormons are supposed to be like. And this is Sam's response.
The problem with you church people is that you like to pretend that isn't the way it is. And like that's gonna fix it. That's a teenager. And yeah, she's a mess. And I'm failing completely, and I don't need God or Jesus or you to tell me that. And by the way, you want to judge me? How about you dumping your daughter on me on Friday without any warning, and then when I call you, you don't say sorry or even acknowledge the bull passive-aggressive power play you pulled on me, okay?
Ooh. But you gotta hear her response.
I feel like one of the things that the show is about is that parenthood, and I imagine this is doubly true when you're a single parent, which you've been for 10 years or so, is like just a series of failures of various scales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like the number one thing about parenthood is like guilt. You know, it's constantly guilty. Like, you know, you could always be doing more. And then when you do more, then your feelings get hurt. And then you take things personally. And the failures that you feel as a parent really are your own mishigas that you need to work out for yourself. But in terms of the kids and when they become young adults, they're resilient. You know, they're unbelievably resilient. And it's like, you can do the simplest things to show up for your kids and they know that you're there. You don't have to shove yourself into their lives unwanted, you know? I mean, some nights I'm in my kitchen cooking for all my daughters and they're all in their rooms with their doors shut and they're on their computers. And I'm cooking by myself in the kitchen, but they're all there and they know that I'm there. And if they want to come down, and sometimes we all have dinner together, and my mom, she actually does live next door, and it's those moments that I cherish that I'm holding on to right now, you know, as my kids are growing up and getting older and finding their way in the world. But, oh my God, we hold ourselves up to such a high standard, but it's like, unless you're like the biggest piece of in the world, I'm not naming names, you're fine. You're fine.
I think my wife does a parenting show, and she and her co-host, Biz, the message that they give people that resonates, especially with mothers, that is like beyond my comprehension, the depth to which this resonates, is you're doing a good job. People are so deep into their guilt and the mistakes they've made and the problems that they're facing, and they bear all that burden themselves. But I think mothers particularly often bear that burden, a hugely disproportionate amount of that burden. And just the idea that if you're showing up and doing the work and your children haven't died because of your negligence, you're doing a good job.
Yes, exactly.
Is like, I've seen people in tears talking to my wife and her co-host because just no one had ever like told them that.
Well, you know, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I'm so grateful that I can make my show. You know what I mean? Because really, it's like I needed somebody around me when I was a new mom, because I was one of the first people to have kids. And I just was constantly trying to measure up to these other moms. And finally, I was like, I don't need to look at anybody else. I don't need to look for people approving of my kids or my parenting. This is the way it is. And sometimes it takes a long time to find that place for yourself. I would constantly be like, I wonder what they're cooking their family for dinner. I wish I could look in everybody's lunch boxes and see. When I was at the gym, I used to be like, oh my God, look what that mom made snack. She cooks skewers with Persian spices. Like, I want to be able to do all of this. It'll eventually come. If you care, it will come.
You got to go the Super King. I mean, that's the secret. You go the Super King. The Super King, they just have this wall of bags of Persian spices.
Oh, really?
You just grab one and put it on the chicken.
Where is it? In Encino?
No, it's like
on
it's
Westwood?
It's on San Fernando. It's in East LA. It's in
my
Northeast
God.
Los Angeles.
I'm going today.
Yeah, the Super King.
I
They also have
love
very
that.
good produce specials.
I'm going to Super King.
And a lot of kinds of yogurt.
Oh my God.
So many kinds of yogurt.
Amazing.
But that does seem to be like, in a way, what it feels like you're trying to do on Better Things is just acknowledge what being a parent is like.
Yeah.
Not in a judgmental way either way, but just be like, yeah, being a parent, like parenting is a very beautiful and great, warm thing. Because like the other part of it is, you know, I feel like in parenting media often, there's only kind of two categories.
Yeah.
One is
super mom.
Parenting is amazing. I'm aspirational, whatever.
Yeah.
And the other is like, F my kids.
Oh, yeah. Oy.
And there's just not a lot of stuff that's about like, just like regular little painful stuff about parenting.
Yeah.
And also that that passes
Yeah.
like everything else?
Well, I mean, it's just the way I am in my life, and what I've learned. You get these rare, wonderful moments, and then there's really moments, and then there are F my kids moments, but then 5 minutes later, it's like, oh my God, I love my daughters. You know what I mean? It's everything, and kids have it too. I learned by watching. I grew up like wanting to be a member of the Waltons family, and I wanted to be an 8 is enough, and I saw Bonnie Franklin on One Day at a Time, and I saw Esther Roll in Good Times, and I saw Roseanne in the original Roseanne, and that made me laugh. Like, I loved her and John Goodman, and how they were just these two people who they didn't look like two pieces of candy, and they were sexy and funny and making everything work, and they would joke around with their kids, and they would on each other, and it was just, that was everything to me.
It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My guest, Pamela Adlon, is the showrunner and star of the show Better Things. She co-created the show with Louie C.K., who last year left the show after admitting to sexual misconduct in his stand-up career. Pamela told us that she didn't want to talk about C.K. I did ask her what it was like to continue her show with a new writing staff working in the aftermath and context of C.K.'s actions.
To have to rebuild, which is something that I've had to do pretty much every year of my show, some kind of massive, like, catastrophic event would happen. And somehow it was like trial by fire, like how I ended up directing all of season 2 and running my show and everything. So I've never worked with more than one writer before. I've never had a writer's room, certainly never run a writer's room, been in a writer's room. So now was the time, and I had to read people and vet people and figure out how to put people together, and kind of mourn the loss of this voice that was my sounding board for the better part of a decade, and have to just start from scratch. And so I can say that is one positive thing, because it's been a really great experience for me to work with these other people, and to really just kind of push forward. And it was literally like, I mean, the past 6 months have been brutal, and just somehow, like, everything cosmically, it's like legally and my life and all that, but everybody has to move on.
You mentioned that you directed all these episodes for season 2, and you literally directed every episode for season 2.
Yes.
Are you going to do that for season 3?
Yes.
Why? I mean, like, not that I don't think you did a great job. It's just you're already on the show, and
it's funny because it's like, this is what I said. I'm there anyway. I'm in every episode, so it's like, why not? And the show is a very handmade show, and it's it's my voice, my color, my music, my vision. So it doesn't tax me anymore, because I'm invested. So it's exhilarating. The work saves you. Work saves you.
I mean, it must be an extraordinary growth too, to go through from can I be an actor, which is the natural state of being an actor, to the point where you can say, not only can I have my own show, I can direct my show. It's my show.
Yeah, I never thought I could ever do it.
I can be in charge of hiring writers and the direction of the writing of the show.
Yeah, like I said, trial by fire, and it's just an unbelievable thing. And like my dad, at the end of his life, he was helping people become writers, and he was the person who said, reinvent yourself. He was doing it all those years ago. So it's about keeping yourself relevant and reinventing yourself, and keep yourself working and healthy and happy.
Well, I love your work so much. I'm so grateful that you came in to talk to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Pamela Adlon. Her show Better Things wrapped up its second season late last year. Look for the third season to premiere later in 2018.